Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show. Are you ready to live an inspired and empowered life? Today, we will be talking about how to weave creativity into your daily life. In order to have an inspired and empowered life, creativity is essential. In this fun-filled episode, we'll talk to modern-day muse and creativity coach Hollis Citron about how to weave creativity into your daily life. She'll share with you principles of creativity activation, how to find endless inspiration, and how to work with your imaginative process to drop into creative mode whenever you want. Hi, I'm your host, Nanci Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive breakthrough expert. And I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to help you transform your life. This show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling and is for educational purposes only. You can join us live by asking questions and comments in the chat room. Together, let's create a life you love. I'd like to welcome my guest, Hollis Citron, and let me read her bio. Hollis Citron is on a mission to make creativity accessible to everyone. Hollis is a creativity doula, seasoned art teacher, and founder of I Am Creative and Express Yourself Publishing. Hollis is very passionate about empowering people to own their voice and talents and wants to shout from the rooftops that being creative is not just about drawing and painting. Creativity is within each and every one of us. Constantly, Hollis has been spreading the message of creativity from the West to the East Coast in all of the various places that she and her family have lived. Thank you, Hollis, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Nanci. So happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So the first is what I'd like to know is how do you define creativity?
Good question. So there are so many ways to define it, but I personally define it as expression. It's your expression. It is how you speak. It is how you show up. It's just how you show up in the world, how you express yourself. And that leaves it open to so many different things instead of this restricted societal concept or definition that creativity is about drawing or painting. It's all about expression.
I love it because I totally agree and believe in that too. And we have Marie in the house saying good morning, and Allie, good morning. And welcome. And if you would like to be able to join us, if you're listening live or viewing live, if you go to view live and then you click the link, you will be able to view and go into YouTube and talk in the chat room because we'd love to hear your questions and your comments.
Cool. Good morning, everybody.
Hollis, so when you start your morning, because I've actually talked about morning routines, I'm wondering, what is your morning routine to start the day in a creative way?
So, you know what? It's honestly, it's changed a lot, and it's not like totally mind-blowing and like this huge monument of like, oh my gosh. It's just a way for me to, as I have gotten more into this routine of really waking up and being more self-aware. So I remember Les Brown, and I'm going to get to my morning routine in a minute. Les Brown, I remember hearing him speak, and two words that he says is, as soon as he wakes up and before when he puts his feet on the ground, he puts one foot down and says thank, and puts the other one down and says you.
Oh, I love it.
So it's this acknowledgement, this awareness that today is a gift. It's a new day. And we're lucky to have it because we never know. So what I have been doing for myself literally is when I wake up, while I'm in bed, I put on Abraham Hicks and I just randomly pick a video and I just kind of listen. Then I do on Insight Timer. Then I do a meditation. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 15 minutes. I usually don't do more than that because I do want to jump into the day. And then when I wake up and I get out of bed, it really all starts with the clothes that you put on your body. What do I want to wear today? How do I want to show up? Do I want to wear makeup? Do I not want to wear makeup? Earrings are a staple for me. So they really reflect my personality. They reflect my mood. So which earrings am I going to wear? Then I go down and I create, I have some water and then I have my chai tea and, I froth up the oat milk. It's kind of like this routine. So where it's just nourishment and open the door, go outside. Those are the basics. And then there's room for play and change in there, but that's really something that feels really good to me.
That is so funny. I love that because I also use clothes and how I'm going to appear as a creative expression. And I actually was telling Hollis before we began, I was like, I'm being creative and funky today because usually I try to wear like just plain colors, like bright colors. I like colorful colors. And but I was like, all right, I'm going to be a little more funky and sparkly. So it's so funny that you were sharing that because I was totally right on. Got it.
The whole pattern going on. You got your sparkles. You're like, you're good. You look good.
Thank you. Cool. So why do you think creativity is important?
Because creativity is life. Creativity it's everything. And this is what I'm so passionate about, getting this idea across. So when I say that I'm a creativity doula, I kind of, I had a client recently bring this up to me, and she kind of gave me that definition because it's this concept of birthing ideas out into the world. Instead of keeping it in your head and in your body, it's getting it out. So it's not just this fixation and this perseveration where it's just kind of living in here. And there's so many excuses that come in so many different ways. Well, I can't do that because this is what I do. And everybody sees me this way, or someone will get angry, or I'll hurt somebody's feelings, or maybe I'll screw up and I won't be good enough, or any of these things. They stop people from doing anything and from creating things. And being an art teacher for 30 years and working with kids, adults, special needs, just every person, I've been so grateful for all the experiences that I've had. And I've seen so many things, but so many times it boils down to when I have done workshops for adults. One particular thing, quick story, 40 years old, this person, I'm in his 40s. I said, the main question was anybody told that they weren't good at something? And there's always hands that go up. And in this one particular time, this guy went off on this whole thing. Again, he's in his 40s. He went back to middle school and he said, my teacher, she blew everything up that I made in ceramics class. And in his mind, it was just him. So this is the angle he's coming from. He said everything blew up, and she did this, she did that, blah da 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 da. So anyway, we were creating a project with clay. I said many prayers over that kiln while I was hoping he was enjoying the process, was scanning the room, going back to him, making sure everything was good. Just whole idea of nurturing this whole kind of replacing these experiences. And understanding experiences we have lead us up to things. So anyway, he got his piece back. Everything was good. And it just, hopefully the idea is that this puts a different spin on things. This kind of, replaces that concept, because along the way, we're told that we're not good at things, or at least we perceive them that way. And that doesn't have to be the truth, but words tend to settle in. And I feel like creativity, expanding this concept that creativity is life, creativity is so many ways. When I've asked this question to people, they've said creativity is how you show up in the world. Creativity is imagination. Creativity is that magic spark. When you expand and see it in these different ways, there's so much growth.
And I totally agree. I really believe we are creators at the core of who we are, and we're creating our life. So we cannot not create, but sometimes we get into those places of feeling stuck. I'd like to invite the people in the chat room, if you have any questions or anything you want to know more about creativity that you'd like to ask Hollis, please type the question in the chat room, or if there's a place where maybe you're being challenged creatively, type it in. We want to answer your questions and support you in moving through and being more creative.
Yes, please.
So one of the questions I really wonder that you could help the viewers and the listeners is, how do you drop into creative mode whenever you want? Like if you really want, if you're feeling, let's say, off that day, everybody has off days. What do you do to get into the creative mode?
It's a good question. And again, I'm going to be saying this word a lot. It's this expansion of the idea of the definition. So depending on what I'm doing for the day. So there's so much creativity in, like I said, what I'm wearing, my hairstyle, all this kind of stuff. There's creativity within all of that. So, but then let's say the creativity is within my business. And what am I going to do for the day? First, I have to get myself organized. So often I go to Google Calendars and I kind of map out the day. If I'm feeling scattered, some days I'm just like, yes, I want to accomplish this. And this is it. And I'm going to do it. And it feels good. Other days, if I'm feeling kind of scattered, I'm like, I don't know exactly where I'm going to start. This feels that, like you were saying, that feeling that just feels really off. And it's like, okay, let's get centered on this. Let's plan out the day. And literally within Google Calendars, it's marking down everything. Not to be too anal, but it's like, even when I'm going to eat, even when I'm going to go out and take a walk, even when I'm going to take a break and have some creative time for myself, in the sense of like some visual arts or some writing or something else that fills me up, which is a way that I express myself. So it's creating that order in order to then be able to feel like I have a safer space to be like, okay, now I know what's going on. It doesn't feel so overwhelming. It doesn't feel so stressful. Because I think that's a lot of where it comes from. It comes from this stress and this, your mind is kind of going a mile a minute and you don't know where to start.
I love that. Being able to become more organized and orderly in order to allow that creative expression to flow. I guess the way that I describe it is, I call it grounding. Being able to feel yourself more present and grounded in order to be able to then know what the next step. And I really feel, because I'm all about intuition, is that creativity and intuition are so interwoven and interlocked, and they are all part of the same energy, the divine energy flowing through us. So I love that, being able to be more grounded and then also structured and ordered. That's really, I like hearing that. I never heard that piece or that concept before, but it makes a lot of sense.
Well, I also like what you just said too about the intuition aspect, because like I said, there are times when you're going to feel, you're really feeling it and there's a strong pull, and that's a time to take action and to do something, to make that call, to go outside, to, you know, write that thing, to whatever that is. You listen to those. Sometimes I know for me, when it can be shiny object syndrome, then if I know myself well enough, if I'm self-aware enough and I can call myself on it, personally, then I can be like, okay, Hollis, write it down. You know, you want to do this. You know the difference between something that feels like, okay, now, and the other one that just feels like you're kind of, you're being shiny. So write it down, do something with it, put it in the calendar, put it in on the paper, whatever it is, so you can see it and know that it's going to get done, and then, you know, move forward.
The way that I coach people is intuitively, is really to tune in to see what they're being guided is the next step. So it's very similar to what you're saying, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there ever a time where you feel like you're stuck and you don't know how to move out of that? Well, you know, like sometimes we have this impression a creativity coach is never stuck. Not that you're not human. I
I'm
know,
some
right?
magical being that never gets stuck. Perfection all the time.
Just like I'm always intuitive, right? Well, I'm glad we're laughing about it.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely been in those places. And at times, like I have literally, whether it's in the house, whether I'm in the car, I don't know if anybody can relate to car screaming or singing, like turning up the music and being like, ah! And my daughter and I turn up the music and sing really loud, and we suck. But that's the point, is to express. It's like that goes back to this whole thing of like, get it out of your body. I had a friend in high school who was way ahead of her time back in the 80s, where she said, do you want to go outside to the football field and do a primal scream? And I'm like, no. Who are you? And that's so ahead of her time, like in teenage years, to be like, just get it out. So
Yes.
when I am feeling stuck, I can do a few different things. I literally sometimes put on music, as I said, in the house, in the car. If I'm in the house or in the car, there's car dancing, but something to physically move, something to break up the energy and kind of just be like, ah, and get it out. Call a friend, like do what feels right in that moment to get out of this headspace, because it's like this cloud. And as Abraham Hicks and people would say, is take a nap or just take a break, walk away. Because when you're just fixated and ruminating on the same thing over and over, why isn't it not happening? And what can I do? And there's the stress and the anxiety and all of that. It does nothing productive. So I have really grown into, for myself, and then in turn can help others become more aware that when it gets to that space, like literally do those things that feel good to you. Go bake, go, you know, whatever it is that feels good for you, take a break and you'll get grounded, as you said in the beginning.
I love it. And I totally love the screaming because I've done it, been there. We have Marie, and Marie says, never thought of organizing as being creative.
So creative. So
That makes total sense now. Knowing you've created something, even if it's your calendar, is an awesome way to look at it. Thank you, Marie. Glad that Hollis gave you some insight there. And Allie says, yes, music sparks, not starts. Well, it does start too. Starts and sparks the creative juices. Love it.
it does. And I have to, if I can share another story real quick.
Sure. We love stories. Stories are good.
So a friend of mine, that I knew since middle school, she has always been like very, like she studied for tests like early on in middle school, like days ahead. Like she was always that person. I was always the night before kind of thing and all that kind of thing. But she had jobs where she did like loading the trucks for Nabisco and figuring out the business logistics. So she would have to she had 3 kids and would do like spreadsheets on their play dates, like all this stuff. I was like, oh my God. And one day she said to me when she left her Nabisco job, she's like, Hollis, I'm thinking about becoming a professional organizer. Does that make sense? I'm like, oh my gosh, nothing makes more sense in the world than that, because it's your happy place. It's a space where you thrive. It's a space your brain thinks so clearly in that way. She can see a mess or see, she loves working with people with ADD and ADHD, and she can just see a mess and be like, yay, a mess. How can we make order out of this? Whereas, other people are just like, oh my God, where do I start? So that's just the beauty. And you made me think of that, Marie, with the whole idea of unorganization and becoming organized. It's a complete creativity. It's an art form.
I love it. I definitely love that way of looking at it. Very, very cool. Interesting. Very creative. Juan, can you put on the intuitive decision-making meditation? I actually have a meditation that I've called an intuitive decision-making meditation. And somebody can download that meditation if they go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation. So please feel free to go there and get your intuitive decision-making meditation, which is a really powerful tool to help you get present and connect more to your intuition. And would you like to share your information, Hollis? How can people get in touch with you? We still have some more time, but I just want to make sure people know where to reach you and how to connect.
Thank you. So the best way is through my website, which is iamcreativephilly, PHILLY.com. That pretty much has everything on it, except for the TV show. So,
okay.
Which is separate, which I think there'll be another link for. Thank you.
Okay. And he's showing the link down below on the running thing. So,
running thing.
I don't know what it's called.
I would say the same thing, which is, I love it. The thing that moves.
Exactly, that thing. Why don't you share with us your process called, what is it called? Creative Shui? Is that how you say it?
So
I said it right.
So I created something called your Creative Shui, which is 7 elements to joy and happiness. And when I am working with individuals, it's a way to do a check-in and kind of see where you're at, to see where it could be daily, it could be weekly, however you individually choose to use it. Or when I'm working with individuals, it's, when we meet and doing a check-in and seeing where you're at and what you kind of need some more guidance in. So basically my thought in this creation of this is that with these 7 principles, which are connection, permission, problem solving, expansion, expression, self-awareness, and balance, with these 7 aspects, when you are feeling more alignment in, if not all of them, in some of them, you feel more joy, which that's the goal. Is we want to feel more joy and happiness. It's not that complicated. So it's breaking it down into these aspects when we can say, okay, so if I'm looking at expression, then am I actually showing up with what I wear? And is it feeling good to me? Or am I just throwing on the same t-shirt or the same bland thing, just something that's in my closet because it's there? And it really doesn't make me feel good, but I just put it on because I don't like to shop and I don't like to do any of these things. And, it's just there. It's clothes. And it makes a difference, right?
Yeah, it does. Definitely. So
it really does.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important, and just allowing yourself to have that expression. I mean, I love the way that you're defining creativity and that, and all about expression.
Mm.
We have Marie. Marie says that was creative, the funny thing. And I think the runny thing. It was the runny thing that was the runny thing. Okay.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I mean, even just like looking at, so if I were speaking with someone, and let's say that there's always I send a not a quiz, like a checklist basically prior to meeting with someone, and from 1 to 5, look at these 7 aspects and rate yourself as to where you are feeling, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. So let's kind of see where you're at, and then that way I can see that when I'm working with somebody, okay, let's focus on, permission today. Let's focus on, because that's an area where it's not feeling so good, let's raise that up a little bit. If it's balance, then okay, let's do these things. And whenever I'm working with somebody, I'm also doing some kind of hands-on thing. So it's not just us sitting and talking, it's us moving in some way, because in that way, I always find that more comes out when you're in movement instead of just kind of, this form of speaking expression, which is great. But I feel like people open up more and can kind of get more in tune when there's the physical kinesthetic movement.
I love it. And I'm totally aligned with that, because I also do that when I talk about emotional release work to express. And like the primal scream that you were talking about, or moving your body, exercise to help people get back into their bodies and connect with themselves. So we're very much in alignment, Hollis.
Yes, we are. And
we felt it when we first connected.
We did. And I think it's just so important. Again, it goes, one of the things that I wanted to touch on was self-awareness in this, because this is one of the 7. I call it the creativity bagua. It's like feng shui. When you have, your room in order, this is your creativity bagua. So when you are self-aware, when you actually take time to know yourself and know what you like, know what you don't like, it helps in life so often. I feel like, especially when I left the classroom and I started my own businesses, I was like, I want to talk to 40 plus. I want to talk to men and women 40 plus, because I get this. And if you're watching, like, say, if you understand this, we get stuck in the routine. We get stuck in the routine of life. It just happens. It's not bad. It's not good. It just is. But actually, it can be bad, because that's when I had the wake up call, when my daughter at the age of 14 looked at me, and I came home from work and I was all stuck in my head. And, how could I have made this better? How could I have got my point across better? How could I have controlled the classroom more and stopped the fight from happening in the room? How could, just all of this stuff. And my daughter looked at me and said, "What are you so mad about? Are you mad at me? Are you mad at your job? Are you mad at yourself? Like, who are you mad at?" She was 14.
Wow.
I was like, oh no, I am not. I have just been in, the loop for so long, where I care so much about everything, that I was neglecting the people that care the most about me. I'm like my kids, my husband,
Right.
myself. I was neglecting myself, treating myself really badly, really bad voices in my head all the time. Like that whole thing, which you've heard, would you be friends with that voice and the way that you talk to yourself at times?
Right.
That's when the wake up happened and the self-awareness came in, where I'm like, yeah, this isn't serving. We got to make a change. And I want to be there to help guide. And I'm not telling people that everybody has to go out and leave their job. And what my role, what my passion, what my mission is to bring awareness to people, to say, what do you like to do? What is that thing? What is that? What are those things? Doesn't have to be for other people. You don't have to show everybody everything. It can just be for yourself.
Yes. And just allowing that expression or that energy to flow is really powerful and really important, because what I found with creativity is when you allow yourself to express in whatever way, it opens you up and allows more flow in all areas of your life.
It's giving that permission. That
Yes.
permission is huge. Of
Yes.
not having to ask anybody else, oh, do you think I should do that? Because we're very prone very often to say, what do you think? What do you think? To kind of take it off of us. And then we take in these other people's energies and their beliefs, and it doesn't serve, because then it clouds up our vision. And again, it's just going back to, it doesn't have to be for anybody else. And this is making me think of, and I'm going to give an abbreviated version of the story, but way back in the 90s, which feels like forever ago, I was doing an artist in residency with this organization called Studio in a School. And they were so beautiful because we worked with the teachers, the children, and the parents. So it was a very holistic program. And it was very process oriented. So in this one particular class at work, we were in there for a few months, and we would do like 6-week modules with different materials. Anyway, we were doing collage, rip collage, and I would do my intro hands-on and then a sharing time. I was in a class that was inclusion, so with special needs and general education, 2 teachers in the room. When we got to the sharing point, this one little boy raised his hand that was a selective mute. He never spoke in class. And he raised his hand that he wanted to share.
Wow.
So this is the power of being given just the safe space. So in my head, I'm doing a party. I don't know this kid real well. I know he has a story. I know, like we all have stories. I know it's been really rough. He's 5, 6 years old. So I'm just like, yes, he wants to share. This is like amazing. Well, 2 teachers in the room. Any idea on what you think happened?
Uh-oh. Tell me. Tell us. We want to hear.
One of the teachers was a screamer. So he all of a sudden yelled, you want to talk. You want to talk. You never want to talk. Fine, talk.
Oh, no.
So in my head, again, going back to in my head, lots of expletives going on in there. I'm in my 20s. It's not my room. I go in there once a week. I'm just kind of like, okay, Alice, what do we do? Like, what do we do? So I went over to the little boy, don't even remember his name, and it's been like over 25 years. I held up his artwork. I said, who would like to tell him something that they like? Other kids were commenting, da-da-da. Then as I was leaving, right before I left, I bent down and I said, sweetie, what did you want to say? And he whispered in my ear, I like the color blue.
Oh, that's such a sweet story, except for the teacher. I mean, that's so, teachers, I don't think realize what a powerful effect that they have on children. I mean, I've had many clients had to heal trauma from the classroom because of what a teacher has done.
It's exactly that. And in general, people's words are powerful. Do we have control over everything? Do we think that everything is going to hit somebody the same way? We have our stories. We may have gotten caught up in emotion. It's not validating it, but it just is. Stuff happens. But I guess in this sense, the reason why I tell this story is that this little boy, like I said, it's been at least 25 years. Don't remember his name. But he is a very big reason as to, out of the thousands of people I've worked with, that story still stands out, because nobody should ever be denied their voice. Nobody should ever be made to feel small.
Yes.
That whatever you have to say or show is worthy of it. And you don't have to have somebody else's permission.
I love it, because we're so aligned, because I believe in the same kind of principles, and it's so important. for people. And I love when you talk about the safe space, because that's what I love to provide for people. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's so crucial and important. And we have a comment from Marie. Permission is powerful. We give people permission to die, but we don't give ourselves permission to live our best life. That
Ooh,
is really powerful, Marie. Thank you so much, because that is so true.
thank
And
you.
so I am actually going to give everybody listening, viewing, anytime, anywhere, whenever you're listening or viewing, you have permission to live an inspired and empowered life. You have permission to live your best life. You have permission to live a creative life.
Yes. 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 Make mistakes. Just do things. Connect with other people. Connect more deeply with yourself. Um, when you do this, there's more expansion. You
Yes.
will feel more expansion in your life when you allow these things. And they always say it can be annoying when you hear it, but when something doesn't go exactly the way that you planned, then it's contrast. Okay, I know that I don't want that. I know that I don't want it this way. I have more of an idea of what I want. Do I know exactly what that is? I may not know exactly what it is, but I know it's not that. So it's mindset.
I love the contrast, because I also listen to the Hicks and to Abraham. So I'm very much about the contrast and what you want and what you don't want. And you get clarity from,
Yeah.
if you create something that you don't want, and you'll say, oh, this is really what I don't want. Let me create what I do want.
Yeah.
So love it. Love it. Love
And
it.
you physically stand up strong, taller. I've seen people when they step into it, when they step into their power, when they step into more of an understanding, when they've gone through the frustration. This one eighth grader who was very troubled, she hardly ever was in class. And we had this assignment and we were talking about something. I said, you know, when you get it, when you get that like butterfly feeling in your stomach. And I said, do you understand that feeling? And she said, yeah. I said, so when there's that kind of butterfly feeling is when you're on the right track. And I was reintroducing something to her class, and then all of a sudden I looked over and she physically sat up taller. And I just looked at her and I said, you have it? And she said, uh-huh.
Oh, that's great. I love your stories.
So
Oh.
it's with kids and adults. It's life-changing stuff.
Oh, definitely. I mean, creativity is huge. And when I'm in that energy, it's so powerful.
Mhm.
I'm really curious about this little secret that you put on the information that you had sent me. So it said that Hollis went to art school and does not really know how to draw or paint. So can you please share with me what you really mean by that? Is that really true?
It's really true. Yeah. It's this concept of, again, looking at an artist in a certain way and thinking, oh, I'm not, there is always a physical body change when you say what you do. So, when I say that I'm a creative field, people immediately are like, I can't draw or paint. That's most usually the first response. I'm like, neither can I. Like, I went to art school, but that's not my thing. It's not my foundation year. We had to take like 2D, 3D drawing, and some other things because we needed like a foundation to be able to there see what we kind of liked and didn't like. I ended up studying ceramics. I'm a more three-dimensional person. In what I do now and how it's as far as the actual hands-on visual arts, I do, collage. I incorporate some painting because it's like color oriented, or I incorporate different things in order to get my ideas out of my head. And it's not always with clay or the same thing. But yeah, I went to art school and in fact, I got a D in drawing. And my teacher was not very nice in that situation. And I stood up to her at one point because she was always drawing on our paper to make corrections. And she taught me something. This is within the contrast, something that I never, ever do. She would draw on your paper. And I was 19 years old and I worked up the guts. I was so nervous. I was like shaking. And I said to her, could you please not draw on my paper? And she looked at me and said, well, I don't think you're good enough to do it on your own.
Oh my God.
So then I said, well, I didn't ask you if I was good enough. I just asked you not to draw on my paper. Because my thinking was that if you show me how to do it and I do it, then I will learn better.
And that makes sense.
Doing it for me. So she gave me a D, and everybody in the class was like, yeah, good for you. I was like, where were you? You guys know she does this. Nobody had my back. But the point is what I took from that too was I have never drawn on somebody else's paper, worked on their sculpture, unless I said to them, is it okay if I show you this? And I get their permission. Yeah, she taught me a good lesson.
Well, you know what? That's the thing, is all of the experiences that we have had in life are learning opportunities and lessons to be learned. So is there something, what would you like to leave our viewers and listeners with about being creative?
I just really want you to just recognize what lights you up. What makes you feel good? What do you find your strengths are? It doesn't have to be what everybody else's strengths are. So if you're in business, understand that you have good communication skills, that you can most probably read people's body language in order to then be able to know, okay, this is when I say this is how they're feeling. This is where I can then kind of inject this. If you're in accounting and you really like numbers, there's that whole organizational aspect, and there, like, all of this stuff it's all creative outlets. So don't discount your talents and your interests. Understand, like you said in the beginning, we're all creators, and everything we do really in every moment is a creation. The words coming out of my mouth are a creation. What I'm going to go upstairs and eat after this and how I put it together, because there's not a ton in the fridge right now. So I'm going to have to kind of work and see it's all creation.
And that is so true. Thank you so much, Hollis, for joining me and sharing your inspiration, your creation, your creativity. And again, how can people get connected with you?
Thank you so much, Nanci. And I really appreciate the space, and everybody who's given the comments. Really appreciate you. Thank you. Again, it's iamcreativephilly.com. And that is the best way to be able to see all the services that I offer with publishing and Creative Shui and the podcast that I have. And I need to add my TV show onto there too. But yeah, so that's me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here with us. And next week will be back for more inspired and empowered living. We have Labor Day there'll be a recorded version of our first show next week. And then we'll be back live in 2 weeks. And we're on W4WN.com, Talk for TV and Talk for Radio.com, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you, and have an inspired and empowered day and an inspired and empowered week. Goodbye, everybody.